The Mossberg 500, to some people, has always been seen as a bargain or cheap option to higher polished, more expensive shotguns. But I've always thought of it as the working man's gun that's built like a tank. So I've always heard this, and I've never seen a Mossberg 500 fail, and nobody that I know has ever seen one personally fail. And so I thought to myself, hell, let's put the reputation to the test and do what no man has ever subjected their body to before. A 500 round, 12 gauge pump action torture test of the Mossberg 500. Get it? 500 to the 500. And before we start off, I need to acknowledge some folks that helped us out. First off, Mossberg donated the firearm for the test, and Winchester Ammunition provided 500 rounds of 2 3/4 inch shells. It's a mix of their Texas Heavy and Super X, which is either 6 or 7.5 shot. Now we're using the most common version of the Mossberg 500, which is one that has a 28-inch barrel. It's ribbed, and I've got an improved cylinder in there. What's important to note is neither Winchester nor Mossberg paid us anything or made us commit to getting good results. Nothing like that. I told them there's a very good chance that either the gun or the shooter will be injured or irrevocably damaged, right? So hopefully not the shooter. So let's find out without any further ado, and I am going to go beat the hell out of my shoulder with 500 rounds of 12 gauge. Now we're shooting at a combination of a shootsteel.com steel target and an MGM targets plate rack. And the reason that I'm doing it this way is because I don't want to replicate an completely unreasonable torture test. I know it's a torture test, but nobody's going to sit there and, get a slam fire shotgun, hold the trigger, and just feed it endless amounts of 12 gauge. No, I'm trying to recreate, if shot at a reasonable pace at targets, once I actually acquire the target, as opposed to just throwing lead down range, if that will cause the Mossberg 500 to fail. Now, for all you whiz kids who want the science data behind what the ambient temperature is right now, 85% humidity, 82 degrees. It is freaking miserable. There's zero wind. All right, so that said, let's see how many of those plates I can knock down out of 500. Oh, guess I can't count. Now, after the first couple dozen rounds, I am not going to be loading rounds directly into the chamber, because as we saw in the Century C308 test, I had rounds cook off in the chamber. So I don't want that to happen when I'm holding onto a 12 gauge with one hand, for obvious reasons. All right. Also, another thing that's important to note, I have no extra lubrication in this firearm whatsoever. It is shipping with less than what it would actually ship with from the factory. Because during that initial Mossberg 500 test, where I fired about 200 rounds through the gun, I never cleaned it, nor did I oil it. Let's top this guy off real fast so I can actually clear the entire plate rack without having to reload. Now the barrel's getting a little warm. I can feel it. And we got our first 25 round box is now depleted. I'll shoot that steel guy in the middle twice. And let's take the temp gun real fast and check our barrel warmth. All right, the barrel's only at 145 degrees. Right in the middle, right where the choke is, we've got 117 towards the chamber, 91. All right, so far so good. I think after this second box of ammunition, I'm going to no longer be able to load them directly into the chamber without serious risk of a cook-off. Whew. This is going to be a long day, folks. I thought I was empty. What's interesting is I'm so used to running guns with a safety that actually resides towards the pistol grip that, oops, that's full, that it's a little awkward for me to remember to knock off the Mossberg Hollow Twofer Unique Tang Safety, which, as I stated in my last review, is great for shotguns with a traditional stock like the one you see me using here. Note to self, if I do another one of these tests, it would be a smart idea to bring some sort of sandbag rest I can put the barrel on, especially with a 28-inch barrel. It's a little heavy. Even after so few rounds. Now, one thing I've noticed already about this gun is it seems that the action is getting a little bit stiff already. Now, that could just be that my primary go-to shotgun is a 1967 Ithaca Model 37 with roughly a couple thousand rounds fired already through it. Wow, this is getting stiff. That will be the last round of the second box of ammunition. So we are roughly 10% done. I'm gonna bubble load that first round in. Ooh, maybe I won't even. Ooh, we had our first encounter of an issue right there. I couldn't even see. Actually, the hull of one got stuck in there a little bit. So, good to note. In fact, let me just get that one out. And I'll just load up the tube itself. Now you'll notice I'm going to be alternating the way I reload this gun because I don't want to tire out either hand. I'm also running gloves while reloading, which I'm going to be the first one to tell you is pretty phenomenally uncomfortable. Dude, where did that hole just go? Went into the stratosphere, I think. Oh, getting some issues right here. There we go. Seems like as the gun is warming up, we are encountering a bit of an issue here in that the chamber seems to be sticking. Now that could be because the steel in the chamber is warming up and thus expanding, or it could be that the holes are getting too warm inside the chamber and then sticking because the plastic is starting to melt. Wow, that's stiff. You know, I thought to myself, there's no way this could get any worse than simply dealing with the recoil. But I'm starting to think that the most difficult part about this test isn't going to be dealing with the recoil, but rather racking that shotgun forearm 500 plus times. Because I am not even through my third box. And this is exhausting already. Let's am I chambered? No. There we go. Now what's interesting is that while it was initially very, very, very difficult to rack, it feels like it's actually starting to soften up. And I don't know if that's just the components starting to wear themselves in, or maybe there's some kind of grease on the action that's now becoming more liquid, though I didn't see any grease when I took it apart. So I assume the action is just starting to loosen up a little bit, which is good, because part of what makes, I got a freebie, because part of what makes the Ithaca one of my favorite guns is how broken in it is. Because it's very easy for the shooter, meaning me, to rack that action and feel like a total badass, despite evidence to the contrary. Hit that shoot steel guy once, and let's temp gun this guy and see where we're at. So, 129 at the chamber, 173 at the middle, just past the mag cap, 130 all the way at the choke, 98. The end of this gun's actually not that hot. It's surprisingly not that hot, to be specific. So we are now moving in on our fourth box of ammo. And I gotta say, already wishing I had chose to do this in the winter. But I couldn't deprive you, the audience, of watching me put myself through utter hell for probably an hour plus. The only time I've ever shot this much 12 gauge or anywhere close to it was at a tactical shotgun course taught by David Kennick. He was a writer for Athlon Outdoors. He used to be a writer for Harris Publications before they went under. And I remember distinctly, that was freaking miserable. Though that was with a 590 and a knock stock, wire stock twofer. Shoot steel guy. And if any of you are wondering, is he flagging his foot? It's a 28-inch barrel. I'm actually aimed about 5 feet in front of me. I'm holding the gun upside down and loading it in kind of a combination of what 300ers do. They throw it over their shoulder, and what people who are lazy like me do, fortify the receiver. The real question is, how much space will all these shotgun holes, empty, clear, all right. How much space will all these empty shotgun holes take up? And how long will it take me to play the world's worst game of pick up sticks? Though I suspect people who have to pick up unexploded ordnance have a worse game of pickup sticks than me. Although a lot more intense. Oh, it's sticking bad, that one. Uh-oh. He had a failure to detonate in that last one. It was weird. Put it right back, though. It is not joking around right now. Holy Whew. Empty. Empty. All right. And like I mentioned in the C308 review, these DSLRs can only film for 20 minutes at a time. Once we're all rolling again, I'll start shooting.
Yep, we are good.
But in the meantime, let me check out the temperature on this bad boy. Chamber is at 119, middle. 167, right at the mag cap, 128. At the threaded portion, 97. It's getting cooler. It's only the coolest kids run Mossberg 500s. Or something like that. At least only the kids with the beefiest left arms. Holy cow. Wow. It seems like on the last round of the magazine tube, it likes to stick. And I mean, a big word here, guys, brace yourselves. I hypothesize that the reason being, like I said before, is that the chamber is expanding because of the increase in heat. I mean, it is a steel barrel, and steel likes to expand when it gets warm. Click. Now what's interesting is the bore on this thing, or the action, only seems to really bind on occasion, not every single time. And when it doesn't bind, it's actually really easy to rack, which is peculiar. I mean, you would think if the bore heating up were the culprit, given that the steel is not going to dissipate the heat too quickly, that it should be able, or rather it should dissipate that heat slow enough that once it starts jamming, provided I keep shooting, it should just keep jamming. But it's not the case. And it's not jam per se, it's just sticking. Once it gets to the point where I can't even use a mortar technique to unlock it, that's when we have a problem. Now I'm running into the problem where I'm generating so much heat off my body, my glasses are heating up, which brings me to an important point. These glasses are actually ballistic. So, made by Tactical RX, I did a review on them. I shot a zombie clown that was wearing them, and they weren't even his prescription. And I've got these on because, just in case of a kaboom, losing my face is bad enough. Losing my eyesight and my face, there's no bueno. What's interesting is, the more I shoot this gun, the more I find myself not really holding on to it as tightly. Normally, I have the bad habit when I'm running either a pistol or a long rifle of white knuckling the heck out of my guns. Because I like to control them and try to muscle that recoil to get the gun back on target. But with this shotgun, I'm finding the recoil is so great. I'm adopting a bit of a Bruce Lee technique of just be like water, man. Just let it happen. It's like if somebody hits you and you're just relaxed, hit you in the shoulder, you kind of flow with it. If you tighten up, you'll take the brunt of the blow. Also, kind of tricky to load a shotgun I have one more left. Okay, can't count apparently. To load a shotgun with gloves on. If you've never loaded a shotgun with gloves on, you'll understand the reason it's difficult is that the gloves, even if they're very well fitted to your hands, will catch in all of the mechanisms like the stopper and whatnot. Stopper being the magazine follower in the magazine tube is, of course, spring-loaded. And there's a little stopper in there that prevents either rounds or the mag tube follower itself from leaving the mag tube and being ejected from the gun, which is a good thing because you don't want those components to go flying into the dirt. So far, I had imagined that between my two shoulders, the right one would be way more beat up. Dude, this thing is beating the hell out of my left arm and my left shoulder, just having to rack it so much. The good thing is, if it really does hurt me, finally, I'll have the equal rotator cuff damage in both shoulders. So there's that. Oh, the first miss of the day! He got lazy. Yeah, I fired above it. I saw it, and I just said, screw it. Maybe I'll hit it, maybe I won't. I said, Deus Volt. If it hits, it hits. Also, there's a tertiary factor we didn't discuss before in terms of this gun's functionality, is that I own a long-haired dog. So, whether I mean to or not, there is dog hair inside this firearm. And pretty much every firearm I own or ever handled in my house. I don't think that'll be the X factor for causing this gun to fail, but you never know. Maybe the ASPCA is the ultimate enemy of Mossberg. Though somehow, I doubt it. And yes, I did notice that I just threw a shell on the ground and I will retrieve it. Screw it, I'll do it now. Gotta make sure we get every single one of the 500 rounds down range, or I'm a shill, a liar, or worse, a lying shill. Which, by the way, thank you to all my subscribers out there for subscribing and for watching this video. Because without you, I would not be able to convince companies like Mossberg and Winchester to help me out. Because if I didn't do these kind of videos, and I said, Dear Mossberg, I wish to fire one of your shotguns 500 times in a single outing. And I want you to provide the gun, and Winchester, I want you to provide the ammunition. They would laugh at me and say, who are you and why should I care? Had a little bit of a technical malfunction right there, in that the Mossberg is running fine, but one of our cameras just bought the farm. So I'm going to fire off this mag tube. All right, technical difficulty sort of resolved. Our GoPro is dead. So there might be a little bit of time lost between some of these cameras, but I doubt it, because Kay is a professional. And let's all give it a round of applause to Kay for putting up with me. She's actually resetting the plate rack for me from a super awkward position behind me, the poor thing. I just dropped 2 rounds into the dirt, brush them off, toss them in. All right, we're almost done with this box, meaning we only have 10 boxes left, which for those of you who are especially good at math means we are halfway done, sort of. How do I feel at the halfway mark? Kind of like a marathon sprinter at the halfway mark. Surprised that I'm still alive. Now personally, I'm drenched in sweat currently, and the fatigue of running a pump action for this long is starting to affect me. Because it's not necessarily what's causing the gun to jam every time that the action's getting especially stiff, though it is, but also, but also the fact that I'm losing strength in my left arm already. Because this is positively exhausting. Oh, I'm out. Thought I had one more. Whew. We've passed the halfway mark, and once I fire these shells, let's do a reading. The temperature gun. Whoa, that thing is sticky. You know, I wonder how much lead will be in my berm by the end of this. All right, action's empty, tube's empty. Let's gun this guy. The cylinder, the chamber, whatever, 110 degrees, middle, 168, right at mag tube, 185. Towards the front, 114. It's actually running pretty good. And I don't think we're going to see the same kind of heat-induced failure we saw in the C308, simply because I physically can't fire this thing fast enough to overheat it. Thank God. Steel! 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 Wondering why I call out the name every time I shoot the one in the middle? I want to make sure you guys know that I'm not that bad of a shot. So far, I am 249 for 250. Not bad. If I were like that on clays, man, I wouldn't need YouTube. I could be in the Olympics. Then again, if clays didn't move, then I could use an improved cylinder choke, and I weren't timed, everybody could be in the Olympics. Let me see how that's doing. Excellent. Now there is a screw-in improved cylinder choke currently installed, and I installed it by hand, and I was curious if it was going to work itself loose. But it appears that's not the case. I know last time some of you guys gave me crap for losing my breath, but this is exhausting. Like totally exhausting. Whew. I think, despite showering directly before the test, a second one is going to be necessary because first one didn't take. Whew. We are past the halfway mark now officially, with only, oh no, with 12 boxes remaining. I didn't look that hard. We're not even halfway yet. Savage right there, savage. That's pretty harsh. That's like when you run into the bathroom at like a ball game and you see a stall and you make a run for it. You get to it, it says out of order. You were so close. Now you're so far. You know you've been shooting a little too long when you start to develop a mild flinch when you don't otherwise ever flinch. But it's easy to do after 200 rounds fired, which we're just at box number 12, which is really unfortunate because I thought we were at the halfway mark before, as I mentioned. And I was pretty excited to not continue having to shoot this. Not that it's a bad gun. It's not. It does bad things to an otherwise good shoulder. Got 3 straggler rounds just chilling out that were dropped earlier. Let's put those guys in before I forget them. So we'll go plate, and if it actually unlocks, and shoot steel twice. Wow. Interestingly enough, when I have to like mortar style charge the action, sometimes it will lob the shell being lifted by the elevator towards the chamber out the ejection port. But presumably, the design, my God, this thing is sticking. Yeah, we got a round actually stuck in the chamber cell, and it's not wanting to leave, so I'm gonna have to clear it. Clear the mag tube of 2 rounds, put it in my pocket. There it goes. Clear. Action open. Have to do this. All right, no obstructions. We're safe. Because the last thing I want is a Wile E or Coyote or Elmer Fudd style end of the barrel kind of just exploding itself. Now hopefully that was just a somewhat out of spec shell, and that's the only reason we were encountering the issues we just encountered, but I suspect it has to do more with thermal dynamics than the construction of a shot shell. All right, that is a 12th box down, or remaining. So we are now firing our 9th box of ammunition through the gun. So we're almost to the halfway point. Tell you what, should be a damn expert marksman with the shotgun by the end of this test, though. I'll tell you that. Wow, that's sticking. You know, I've noticed that for whatever reason, it never really sticks on a shell if it's the last shell in the mag tube. If there's no subsequent shells following it, it doesn't seem to ever jam. It's interesting. Because the presence of that shell should in no way affect how the gun extracts around from the chamber. Now I challenge any of the big YouTubers to try the same test with buckshot or slugs. Whew. Yeah, you can count me out on that one. This is more than enough gun for this guy. Hell, I like shotguns, and this sucks. But it's kind of fun though at the same time. I mean, it's fun, like pulling out a splinter. Is that you can't wait for it to be over. No, but it's actually not that bad. If it weren't for the fact that it is a manually operated shotgun, it wouldn't be that bad. Like if I were running my 930 JM Pro, and it actually ran for 500 rounds, which I have yet to see any automatic shotgun be that reliable, then that probably wouldn't be nearly as bad. Though I say that, but the truth of the matter is that gun's a lot heavier than even this 590. With a 28-inch turkey-style barrel on it. Whew. Hey, that's the halfway mark. What a great time to stop for a minute and gun it. Chamber, 109. Right above the pump, 132. A little forward, 165. The rib is like 100 degrees, I guess. And by the chokes, 100 degrees. Now that had been sitting around 90 before. Seems like it's starting to finally heat up. Whew. This is a lot more work than I had anticipated. But I signed up for this. And I knew see, sometimes it seems to run completely fine. Other times, not so much. I'm not seeing any consistency to it because the ammunition is more or less the same. It's not exactly the same, but the shell size and the charge load is all pretty similar. I think they're the same gram. I'm just grateful that Winchester didn't say, hey, try out our new long-range hunting slug. I'd be like, sure. Rip. I want to know at what point I get enough subscribers that I get a stunt double who only looks like me from behind. You know, if I have to review something like the Caribou Shorty or like a Derringer in 4570. See, stunt gunner. He'll run out. Oh no, my second miss of the day. I'm getting lazy, guys. I'm sorry. So I was almost up to that 249 at a 250, but apparently I'm at 248 at a 250. I know, I'm ashamed too. I'm sure all of you just signed off. They said this test is meaningless. This man can't shoot a shotgun 250 times in a row with flawless accuracy. Unsubscribed. I'm out. This guy's clearly a shill, and I'm done. That's a lot of Mirage. Even with that vent barrel, or that vent on top of the barrel, little rail, or a rib rather. And it's actually not helping as much as you think it would help. But generally, I don't know a whole lot of people who go duck, pheasant hunting with an 870 or a 500, or even like an Ithaca or any kind of modern pump action shotgun with the intention of running 500 rounds through it in an afternoon. Gotta say, improved cylinder, that was the right choice choke for this mission. This test would have been hellacious with a cylinder bore and an 18-inch barrel. We actually tried it out first from this distance, and I'm a little further back from the targets than normal, about 15 yards. And if at that distance, this kind of shot, it's just too randomized. You can have perfect hold over, aim, whatever, follow through, etc. And even still, with the randomness of a cylinder bore, there's a very real chance that you'll hit nothing. Which is also, I mean, it's good because it dissipates the rounds, the projectiles out more, which is why it's the barrel of choice for home defense. But it's not so good in competition or against plate racks. Because I'm trying to hit a little 8-inch circle that needs to be hit basically in the center in order to go down every time. If you ask anybody who's ever ran a 9mm in a plate match like this, and especially if the plates have been dialed in for heavier calibers, then a lot of times it doesn't produce enough force to actually knock the plates down, especially if you don't hit them in the right place. If you hit too low and the round doesn't have enough leverage against the plate rack to knock the plate down. Now with the shot shell, we're firing multiple projectiles, and so we're trying to get as center of a hold as possible because we're not concerned with hitting the top of the target per se, but rather getting as many of the projectiles on target as possible. Because even though they're nicknamed scatter guns, whatever, I actually couldn't see that last plate because of the mirage and the smoke coming off the gun. Even though they're nicknamed scatter guns, the shot definitely goes in a very specific location, or at least is heavily influenced by both barrel length, ammunition type, as well as choke. Wow, it's really hard to see. It's a combination, it seems, of the fact that we're on the, we have 8 boxes remaining. Combination of how hot the barrel's getting, how much face my heat is emanating, how much heat my face is radiating on these glasses, so that it's distorting the image pretty heavily. Also, if any of you are wondering what my neighbors think of this whole thing, I waited until most were at work. Because even though they live hundreds of yards from me, the last thing I wanted was to ruin some guy's night's sleep by starting out here nice and early. Even if doing so would have kept me much cooler. Let's do a little temp reading because this barrel is feeling hot and the mirage is suggesting it's very warm. So all right, the chamber's at only 115, slightly forward 199, and rising 200. 202. Highest reading so far 203. Slightly forward by the mag tube 168, by the choke 133. Wow, I'm actually struggling to lift my arm with that stupid temp gun, which only weighs like 4 ounces. I think the recoil is causing my arm to shake quite a bit. I'll reset. Well, I'm having a damnable time acquiring any semblance of a sight picture. Ooh, that's jammed. There we go. And now a message from our sponsors. Yeah, if only I had a commercial break, that'd be phenomenal. No, unfortunately, it's just me. I tried to goat a few of the local shooters around me that like to shoot with me into assisting, but I couldn't find anybody who found the idea of running 500 rounds to a pump action 12 gauge to hold any appeal. Whew. Wow. It makes this test, oh, there's the exception to the rule. That one actually managed to jam without any subsequent shells behind it. But having to quote-unquote mortar style clear this gun makes this test a lot less enjoyable. Let's finish this box off and we'll check the temperature again. Now, surprisingly, the receiver, it's warm to the touch. It's not getting that hot. And it's made of aluminum instead of steel. All right. Let's test this guy out. Cylinder slash chamber, 116 still. Right where the caliber markings is 170. Slightly forward is still 190, so it's keeping pretty warm. 150 at the middle, and then at the end of the gun, 133. It's heating up like crazy. All right, we got 7 more boxes down, or remaining. So we've actually shot through 13 full boxes of ammo already. So 2 boxes away from the 75% mark. Also, very glad I didn't try to do a 1,000-round torture test like the C308. I think I might have actually died. I like how occasionally I'll see a hull hitting the plate rack and travel like 6 feet in the air. It's pretty damn cool. People don't understand, shotguns don't usually understand, there's a hull, or I say hull, I mean wad, excuse me. There's a wad that carries the shot to the target, or at least partially the way there, in an attempt to keep all that shot together for longer, increasing its accuracy and effective range. Whew. I thought that was going to be the 3rd miss for a second there. I barely caught a piece of it. But almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and apparently shotguns. Summer, probably a poor choice for this test, I gotta say. But I have to admit, so far, gun holding up fine. And I think the cocking or failure to, not necessarily failure, but its resistance to being charged, I guess you'd say, the stiff action is a direct result of how much heat. Like the metal's expanding, and so the tolerances are becoming excessively, or the spacing between the parts, not the tolerances themselves, are becoming excessively tight. So I'm feeling a little bit of resistance combined with shooter fatigue. is resulting in very difficult action to charge. Shoot steel guy! You know what? Maybe if I was a paid shill, maybe a good idea for that shoot steel target. Maybe every time I call it the name, I get $1. Every single shot. Shoot steel! Shoot steel! For God's sake, give me $1. Shoot steel! Ah, come on now. There we go. I like how the plate started out at least partially white because of the paint, and then just the amount of lead impacting the targets has basically painted them to a matte, flat gray. All right, we're on the 6th to the last box, meaning we are just shy of the 75% mark in terms of 500 rounds fired through a Mossberg 500. 500 through a 500. Now I think the camera behind me will likely die relatively soon. Or at least before the completion of the test. But I'm sure all of you at home can probably guess I'm not missing a whole lot. And if nothing else, you can hear the hits when the plates fall down on the rack. And actually, one thing that's really surprising is that after running one of these guns for so long, without gloves, I had assumed that doing so with gloves would be a bit of a hindrance. But I did it because I was afraid of burning myself on the Mossberg's barrel. The little elevator right there is a high gloss mirror finished piece of steel. And I just saw the reflection of a shot shell off the table next to me and was really confused as to how I could see a shot shell in the chamber with the action closed. You probably, guys can't probably hear her, but Kay is wondering how my arms are feeling right now. The answer is, ow. What's interesting, and this happened to me when I did a 300 round defensive shotgun course. I primarily used defensive ammunition. And if any of you know anything about shotguns and shot shells, defensive ammo kicks a lot harder than this stuff. Wow! See, I was thinking maybe the reason the gun was having trouble unlocking, in addition to the heat issue, was due to the fact that maybe I was kind of limp-wristing it a bit, you know, like with the 1911. But I just held that thing as hard as I could against my shoulder. I still encountered the same problem. Now a new issue is starting to emerge. I just noticed. When I'm having to mortar the gun, on occasion, the safety is engaging itself. Now, it could be me accidentally hitting it, but seeing as forward is fire and back is safe, that doesn't seem likely. Then again, normal operating procedures for a Mossberg 500 do not include clearing the gun like a mortar. Suit seal! Yeah, it definitely feels like it's not the action that's binding. It feels like it's the shot shell not wanting to extract. And that the action is just struggling against the amount of tension, friction, whatever, that's holding that shell, wow, it's hard to see, into the chamber. We'll say this, after this video, I feel like I'm going to be a lot more proficient at loading a 500. Yep, safety turned itself back on again. I'm actually almost developing the quote-unquote chick lean. My back is getting so fatigued at this point. But we are past the 75% mark here, and I am chewing up this 5th box of ammo right now. The 5th to last box of ammo. If I was just worn out after 5 boxes, probably would have called it quits by now. Shoot steel. Oh, one more round in there. Okay. Let's finish off box numero 5. I think my collar is probably right up in my face right now from that last shot. Yup. Ask me how many I have left to give. Answer, not a 1. Oh, there we go. It's an interesting malfunction. The shot shell has managed to jam itself in the chamber, not so much in the chamber, inside the action, but also underneath that elevator. So, let's see if I can... Okay, so you can see what the shot shell has managed to do, which is obviously a bad thing, because, yeah, that's just, the rim of this shot shell is designed specifically to not be able to get in this. I'm going to try to take the edge off of it, and then maybe get it past that little elevator. There we go. We are in business. Definitely. Four boxes remain. I can't even imagine if I was going to do that 1,000-round test right now, where I wouldn't even be half done. Can't even fathom it. What's interesting is I'm getting so accustomed to the weight of the gun when the magazine tube itself is full, but not one in the chamber. When I top the gun off, it actually feels wrong. I'm empty, yep. Well, you gotta hand it to Winchester. Not one of these rounds had a bad primer, or was out of spec. God, this is getting heavy. Whew! I am just about out of gas. Whew. Let's fire the remainder of this box through there, and then we'll check the temperature gauge, the infrared thermometer, before finishing it off. and taking one final reading. And then once the gun cools down, we'll disassemble it and take a look at the inside. And don't worry, I got some beautiful footage of the gun when I first got it. So you can tell exactly what a 500 round torture test does to the Mossberg. So far I have to say, I don't think functionality, even cosmetically / outward appearance, whatever you want to call it, I don't think it'll be affected at all. All right, so that's the 3 boxes remain. Let's gun this bad boy. How you doing at the chamber? 114, just forward of that. 175. It's cooling down a little bit. We do have a breeze coming through now. 150 there, and then at the very end, 125. That's a lot warmer than before. If you remember, the initial couple of boxes, the threaded portion of the barrel, the muzzle, never got warmer than like 90-something degrees. So clearly, something's changing. If I had to guess, it's probably a tremendous deal of lead buildup because I have an improved cylinder choke installed. And as that becomes greater, it's swedging the shot going down range, or constricting it into a smaller area, which is going to generate more heat from more pressure and more friction. And that last one came at me a little harder than I expected. I nearly punched myself in the face. And everybody's done it with a shotgun at least once. So next time someone tells you 12 gauge shotguns are terrible to shoot, the recoil is just too much for any shooter to shoot for any sort of duration, shoot steel and a twofer. You tell them, nuh-uh, this guy named Jim, who's crazy apparently, can put 500 rounds to a pump action, and he is only 5'9". So basically a modern version of a hobbit. My feet look exactly like Bilbo's. Kay can unfortunately confirm this. About to polish off this third to last box. And of course I drop a shot shell into the sand. It's interesting, if you ever want some good bug spray, apparently shotgun, pretty solid bug spray. If the bugs were out in force earlier, because it is South Carolina in the summer with humidity, and the bugs, oh, we got another failure to extract. It's still giving me issues. Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. So, final 5 of that box. And we'll be 90% done. Shoot steel! Ha! I guess it went a little higher than I thought. Still hit it. Whew. Second to last box, last 50, the last 10% of the test remaining. Come on. Oh, man. Well, this is for certain. The gun is definitely doing better than the Sentry did, though it is manually operated. So as long as the operating mechanism, in this case Jim the shooter, can rack the action It should continue to run. Shoot steel. Plate. Now, while it is getting more difficult to charge the action, we haven't had any part breakages at all. Shoot steel. Oh, there's only one round left. I guess there's 2 rounds left. And with these last rounds, we are at the last 5% of the test. We are nearly 95% done at this point. Oh no, under the elevator again. Mag tube clear, chamber is clear. Got that same issue again, which seems directly related. Ooh, that's no good. Directly related to the gun basically having to be mortared, it seems. I feel like if I could get a shell in there to just hold that lifter in place, because it seems like the front of the shell itself. There we go. All right, last 5%. Let's do this. I got places to go, people to see, a doctor to visit because my shoulder is broken. It's actually not that bad. It is by no means comfortable, I'll give you that. It's not that bad. But a lot better than I thought it was going to be. $15 rounds to go. The fatigue is real right now. I am just a little bit above drop dead tired. To the point where hip shooting the rest of this test is starting to have distinct appeal to it. But with 10 rounds left to go, I will persevere. I believe in you, Mossberg. Woo, it's sticking. All right. These are the last 5 rounds. Literally, the final 1% of the test. No critical failures. No breakages. And, if I do say so myself, a shooter totally missed 2 rounds out of shoot steel 500 rounds. So, if you're not great at math, that is better than 99% accuracy. The gun ran basically without flaw. The only issues it had were getting rounds stuck out of the chamber, which only really started to occur after 120 to 150 rounds fired. And that's through a pump action 12 gauge, which is vastly more rounds than the average person would put through it. So let's give it one final temperature gunning. Chamber is at 120 degrees, cooled down a little bit. Slightly forward where the barrel profile narrows is at 178. Right where the mag tube meets the barrel, 150. And the muzzle end is at 147. Awesome, guys. If you like this video, or just like watching me hurt myself for a little over an hour, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more burst reviews.